Well, I'm with Daf Cunningham, who's one of our pastors in Wales. So we're here at the Wales Consultation that FIEC has been doing. Before I ask you a bit about that, Daf, first of all, just tell us where you're ministering and what you do.
Sure. I'm the pastor of a small church in a place called Denbigh in northeast Wales, a town of about 10,000 people, and then probably another 10,000 or so who would come to Denbigh from surrounding villages. I'm married to Amanda, and we've got 3 little ones, kind of primary school age or younger. And we've been there for 2 years. We moved to Denbigh to start the church plant from a church about half an hour away in a place called Mould, Ebenezer Baptist Church, and they sent a team, I guess, with us to start Grace Church Denbigh.
And you were one of the elders at Mould first, right?
I was, yeah, and still am actually. So we have a close relationship with Mould, yeah, kind of lots of prayer, support, fellowship. Still going on, so that's been a great help.
And as a pastor in Wales, what's encouraged you about this Welsh consultation?
I suppose lots of things. Just getting to chat to some of those guys down in the valleys. I remember when I was living in England for a time, people used to say, "Oh, you're from Wales, or how are the valleys?" Well, it feels like a very different world really from where we are in North Wales. But getting to chat to some of those guys about their ministries and realising some of them are going through some of the same struggles, some of them very different struggles because of the kind of history and the culture of those South Wales valleys, and some of those big cities, again, seems very different. But it's just been such a thrill, really, to hear about how the Lord is at work in some very difficult places, some very sparsely populated areas in mid-Wales, and yet the Lord at work in kind of slow ways, but thrilling. Yeah, that's been an encouragement, really.
I've been struck by some of the differences there seems to be through ministry throughout Wales. Why do you think that is?
I suppose we've got kind of historic, geographic kind of issues. The links between North and South Wales aren't particularly strong. South Wales traditionally being very industrial, and North Wales, I guess, being more agricultural, some industry as well, but that affects things like culture, language, migration issues, issues of poverty today. So yeah, there's all kinds of bearing on how ministry looks different in different parts of Wales.
So you mentioned the cultural thing, that's big, isn't it? What are some of the differences in terms of ministering in England perhaps to ministering in Wales where you are?
I suppose it's worth saying that some things are the same. It's the same gospel, it's the same Bible we're trying to teach. And I suppose in some of those big cities, it's going to be the same issues that they face in many cities across the UK. But I suppose there are some distinctives about ministering in Wales. Things like the fact that the kind of gospel heritage we have in Wales means that others have said things like when the tide goes out on Christianity, it kind of goes out faster and harder, which means that in some ways kind of our generation in Wales, they've totally dismissed Christianity because they've seen the effects of, I suppose, moralism being taught as opposed to the gospel being taught, the gospel having been lost from so many churches, sadly so many denominations, which just means that people our generation, there's just absolutely no interest. I think it's stronger than it just being apathetic about Christian things. It's that there's a kind of hostility towards Christian things nearly, and so that's a distinctive. Maybe I suppose the obvious thing is the language. Is then where we are in Denbigh, I'd say 30 to 40% of people in town, and certainly more so in the surrounding area, would be first language Welsh speakers, and that has a massive influence on how we live out our culture. If it's done through the medium of Welsh, then that's going to affect everything, including how we do church and how we reach people with the gospel. And I kind of feel we're scratching the surface, really. There are some really faithful believers who are trying to reach fellow Welsh speakers, but it's a hard work, and kind of we need help in that, really.